Welcome back, guys. Now in this lesson, we're going to be taking a look at missing dimensions, and we're going to just do a quick review of unit conversions. All right, so when we're looking for the missing dimension, essentially we're doing the exact same thing we've been doing before. Look at the object, figure out the formula that we need, and then we just do algebra to solve for our unknown dimension. So in the first example here, we're told that the surface area of a sphere is 5,025 meters squared, and we're asked to find the radius. So we look at our formula sheet, and we know that the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. So we plug in what we know, 5,025 equals 4 pi r squared. Now in order to get the r by itself, the first thing we have to do, remember bed mass backwards, is to add or subtract, but we don't have anything to add or subtract, so our next step is to multiply or divide. We need to get rid of the 4 and the pi, so we're going to divide by 4 pi. Now it's important when you put this in your calculator that you remember to keep that in brackets. Or you can divide by the 4 first and then divide by pi, you'll get the same answer. So putting that into our calculator, we would have 5,025 divided by, in brackets, 4 pi, which is the same as going 5,025 divided by 4 and then dividing by pi. Gives us the same answer. What we don't want to do is we don't want to do 5,025 divided by 4 pi because our calculator is scientific, meaning what your calculator is actually doing is 5,025 dividing by 4 and then multiplying by 5. So that's why those brackets are important. All right, so just pulling up our older entry. We would have 399.88. So again, we're going to keep our answer exact on our calculator. Rounding on paper, we have 399.88 equals r squared. Our next step is to square root. So on our calculator, second root, second answer, and we get 19.9969. Now, typically, unless I'm told to round otherwise, I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. And so I have 19.9969. The 9 will round up the 9, which will round up the next 9. So this is actually 20.0. And our measurement is meters squared for surface area, millimeters squared, meaning it's millimeters for length. So R is 20.0 millimeters. All right, taking a look at the next question, we've got SA equals 4 pi r squared. We've got 395 equals 4 pi r squared. We're going to start by dividing by 4 pi. Again, remember to keep that in brackets on your calculator. And that gives us 31.4 equals r squared. We can square root both sides. And that gives us r equals 5.6065 meters. Now, we're not asked for radius, we're actually asked for diameter. So that means we're going to take that number and multiply by 2. And so our diameter rounded to the nearest tenth is 11.2 meters. Again, it's important as we're doing these questions that you don't round on your calculator. Sometimes you can end up being out a tenth or a hundredth, sometimes more depending on how many calculations we're doing. All right, for part C, we're told that the volume of a cylinder is 8,000 centimeters cubed, and we're asked to find the radius. So volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times height. We plug in what we know. We've got 8,000 centimeters equals pi times r squared times a height of 40 centimeters. So we could rewrite that as 8,000 equals 40 pi r squared. We're going to be dividing by 40 pi. Again, remembering our brackets. That gives us r squared equals 63.66. We're going to square root both sides. And r equals 8.0 centimeters. All right, taking a look at the next one, we're told that the surface area is 1,319 centimeters squared, and we're asked for the height. Surface area of a cylinder is 4 pi r, surface area of a cylinder. So the surface area of the cylinder is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So we sub in what we know. We've got 1,319 as our surface area, 2 times pi times 7 squared, plus 2 times pi times 7 times h. Now we can simplify that. 7 squared is 49 times 2 is 98. So we have 1,319 equals 98 pi plus 14 pi times h. So we're going to subtract 98 pi. That gives us 1011.12 equals 14 pi h. We're going to divide by 14 pi on both sides. Again, remembering our brackets. And we have h equals 22.989 centimeters. So rounding to the nearest tenth would be 23.0 centimeters. All right, taking a look at our next question, we're told that the cone, or that a cone has a height of 4 inches and a volume of 205 inches cubed. And we're asked to find the diameter of the cone. So we'll start off by sketching a diagram. All right, so our height is our perpendicular height. This is 4 inches. And our volume is 205 inches cubed. We're asked to find diameter, meaning we're going to have to start off by finding radius. So volume of a pyramid is, the volume of a cone is pi r squared times height divided by 3. So our volume is 205 equals pi r squared times 4 divided by 3. Our first step is going to be to get rid of the 3, so we're going to multiply by 3 on both sides. That gives us 615 equals 4 pi r squared. We're going to divide by 4 pi on both sides, and that gives us r squared equals 48.9. Now square rooting both sides gives us r equals 6.9957, and that means that radius rounds to 7.0 inches. Now we're multiplying by 2, again keeping that exact on our calculator. Our diameter is 14.0 inches. Now as our last example, we're told that we have 500 centimeters squared of material available to cover different shapes, and we're asked the maximum volume of each object that you can make with this amount of material. Well, with a cube, we know that all sides are the same, so side by side by side, or side cubed. Now for surface area, we have 6 faces, and all of them have an area of s squared, so 6s squared equals 500. We'll divide by 6. That gives us 83.3, and we square root to get our side length. So our side length is 9.13. Now that's rounded, but in order to figure out our volume would be side cubed. So we're going to take that amount, that 9.13 on our calculator, and we're going to cube it, and that gives us a volume of 760.7 centimeters cubed. Now taking a look at our next example here, we're looking at a sphere, and surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. And so we have a surface area of 500 equals 4 pi r squared. Our first step is to divide by 4 pi on both sides, which gives us 39.7887. And so we have r squared equals 39.7887. And square rooting, that gives us r equals 6.3. Now from there, we're going to use this amount to find our volume. So volume is going to be 4/3 pi r cubed. And so that gives us 4/3 times pi times 6.3 cubed. And again, keeping everything exact on our calculator, we should end up with 1051.3 centimeters cubed. All right, now we're going to take a look at these examples one more time. We're not going to actually do the calculations, but we are going to look at how we would convert these if we had to convert units. So for the first question, we're told that the surface area is 5,025 millimeters squared. Now, if I was asked to convert this to centimeters squared, I know that there are 10 millimeters equal to 1 centimeter. So if I want to go from millimeters to centimeters, typically I would divide by 10. If I want to go from millimeters squared to centimeters squared, I'm going to divide by 10 squared, and that would give me 50.25 centimeters squared. If I wanted to go from meters squared to centimeters squared, normally from meters to centimeters I multiply by 100, but I'm going from meters squared to centimeters squared, so I'm going to multiply by 100 squared, and that's going to give me 3,950,000 centimeters squared. If I wanted to go from centimeters cubed to inches cubed, going from centimeters to inches, I can divide by 2.54. Going from centimeters cubed to inches cubed, I'm going to divide by 2.54 cubed, which gives me about 488 inches cubed. If I wanted to go from centimeters to inches, again, I would divide, but I'm going from centimeters squared to inches squared, so I'm going to divide by 2.54 squared, and that's going to give me 204.4 inches squared. And one last one, if I was going from inches cubed to centimeters cubed, we're going to multiply by 2.54 to go from inches to centimeters, but we're going from inches cubed to centimeters cubed, so we're going to multiply by 2.54 cubed, and that's going to give us 3,359.3 centimeters cubed. All right, so there's just a few examples there, but hopefully that gives you enough examples to do some practice. Remember, I'm still in class. I'm still available if you have questions, and I'll see you soon.